Welcome back to another episode of my running commentary series for my cartoons. This episode of Killroy was very interesting for a couple of reasons, at least creatively. One, it's the first time that Killroy goes up against a villain who actually has superpowers. The first two episodes, Killroy was going up against a shady businessman, and in the second episode, he was going up against some bank robbers. And this is the first time that we delve into some of the more comic booky, sci-fi, and mystical aspects of comic books. And I think the inclusion of a demon or demonic devil type villain in this episode was appropriate for it. And there are dozens of demonic villains or godlike villains in comics like Dormammu and Mephisto, or just any of the Spawn villains. So I figured, this will be a good place to sort of just delve right into the fact that, okay, we've seen the human and the mortal villains. Now let's get kind of crazy and go really broad with it. So another creative challenge that I had with this episode was to actually go into hell and get his soul back. Killroy has to, without dying, he has to commit a cardinal sin. And so I opted to have him shoot a priest, which I thought was, good enough, but as I was animating it, I kind of realized that actually this is quite shocking. And I had to decide if this is the kind of series that I wanted to make, where it's just nothing but shock value. And if I was going to make Killroy be like this hero who has no redeeming qualities. My mantra with Killroy was that even though he is like a gun-based hero, he's not a controversial figure. And to do something like that, I knew would be very offensive. And, I think people can tell right away that this is a very lighthearted series, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I'm not making any sort of commentary. But it's sort of it's kind of on thin ice. And I think if I were to just have him unapologetically shoot a priest in the face, especially who came off as a kind-hearted priest, that would be a little too much. And I didn't want to offend I didn't want to offend the deeply religious that way. So midway through animating, I wrote a quick and dirty scene where my character talks to the priest, or he encounters the priest in hell, and says, "Oh, so you ran a meth lab in the basement of your church, and you eat live kittens." I wanted to paint this priest as, he's not a man of God. He is a bad person in his own right. And it was a good thing that Killroy shot and killed him. It's a flimsy explanation, but just kind of wanted to cover my ass that way. I'm not a religious person, but I can see how someone would be offended by seeing him shoot a priest. And this is a character who's already, dancing on the razor's edge of being very controversial. So I just wanted to have a little bit of lip service to that, and if anyone wants to make a big deal of it, you may have a point, but that just wasn't my intention. And really at the same time, we are reminded of Killroy's weakness to be violent in front of school children or in front of young children. He's helpless against these monsters. He shot a priest, but it turned out to be a bad priest, and at the same time, he doesn't want to expose children to violence. So I guess that's where you could say the line would be in my fictional cartoon, creative endeavor here. No way reflected on how I really want to see the world, or how I think things should be run. It's just all in what I think is funny and what works for this series. Oh, and speaking of which, this episode also has sort of a long-standing joke that I've always thought would have been really funny, and I've had this idea since way back in my elementary school days, where movies and cartoons and comics would always depict sort of a devil character in two forms, sort of a suave, good-looking human form, and then they would reveal their true demonic form, which was just scary and imposing. And I wanted to use the red pajamas Halloween costume version as the devil as the true demonic form. One that was way less intimidating than the human form. I just always thought that was a funny gag. Oh, and I guess this was also the first episode that my character bailed Killroy out of a jam, which is sort of a common superhero trope. Wow, so I guess I delved a little too much into that whole priest angle, but it was a short it was a short episode, and I guess there was only one major thing that I wanted to address in it. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys another time. Bye!